Before we write more SQL examples, let's try to understand the basic template behind writing these expressions. So if you follow from the previous video, you will see that we successfully wrote two SQL expressions. One for the polygon shapefile, which is this one, and then the other one for the point shapefile, which is the customers table on the database. So I will try to show you the template to follow, which is basically you need, this is the column name, then this is an operator, then all these are strings. So if you look at this simple one, this is the column name, this is an operator, and then this is a string. If I go back to the database, you see that this is the select statement, then this is the column name, then we have the where clause, then we have the operator, then we have the column or field names, then we have the strings. So the string depends on the data type for the column. So if the data type for the column is a string column, then you have the string. But if the data type for that column is numeric, then you have a number value. Or if it is a date, then you have a date value. So if I go back to QGIS, for example, if I check, right click on the customer shapefile layer, then go to properties. Then under the properties, I can go to the source fields. So here I can see the types for each of those, or each of the attribute columns. So you can see the name column is an integer and the length is 10. So the customer name, the customer ID column is integer 10, and the customer name is a string type, data type, and then the length is 254. So if you look at all other ones too are there. So virtually most of the layers are string, most of the columns are string, and then we have just one integer 64, then two real numbers. So different databases have different names for these field data types. For example, in some databases, string is called text, and there may be real numbers are called either decimal numbers or double. So for if I open up this attribute table, then I try to create like a new attribute field. If I try to add new field, I can see the available field types in QGIS. So in some databases, for instance, this date is combined with this date and time, but here you can see they are kept separately. So just as I've said earlier on, some databases call string text, as you can see here in bracket. Real numbers are called decimal numbers, while in some cases they are called double, and so on and so forth. This is one number, which is an integer, one number, integer 64. So if I go back to ArcGIS, ArcGIS too has similar thing, but I think their names are different. So you should take note of that. And here you can see here the names is quite different from what you have in QGIS. So these are the available field types. So a database has more field types compared to what you have in the shapefile. So if I go back to my database, here on this page we have the SQL data types for my SQL database, SQL Server database, and the MS Access, Microsoft Access database. So generally the field or the column data types are categorized into string data types, numeric data types, and then the date and time data type. Then we have the others. So each database will have different name or for its data type. So for example, if you look at what we have here for my SQL database, character, variable character, we have text, and they all have different descriptions. So if you go to SQL Server database, you see that they have different naming convention and different description and different sizes too. So there are more data types in a database compared to what you have in a shapefile. But this is an example of a field data type that is not available in a shapefile. Money, small money, float n, and so on. So these are all. So whichever database you are working with, it is advisable to check the documentation to get familiar with the naming convention and what the different data types for each column is called. So in this video series, I think the data type we are going to work with is just the string data type and then the numeric data type. So this table, virtually all the columns are strings. Then maybe just the customer ID is a numeric data type. So likewise, the way you saw it there in our shapefile, I think Only the longitude and latitude are real numbers. That's the decimal. That's a decimal, have decimal data type or real data type. But all the rest are just strings. Then only the customer ID is an integer. Going back to our template here, I'm trying to develop this template so that it will be easier for you to understand. If you have something, if you need to write this query, for example, for databases, you need to have this part. Select start from, then the variable part are these ones in angle bracket. So the table name can change to whatever table name you want to query. Then the where clause is just a keyword in a SQL expression. So all these are keywords in SQL expression, and they are usually written in capital form. So this field name is the column name, which can vary. Then the operator, there are also different kinds of operator. As you can see here, this equal sign is an operator. This or is also an operator. Then we also have another variable, which is a string. So it's a string because you are querying a string column or a string field. If you are querying a numeric field, this will be a numeric value. If you are querying a date field, this will be a date value. So this is depending on the field data type, just as I've explained earlier. So this is the template for writing the SQL select expression for databases. And this will work on most of the databases, especially those listed on this page: MySQL, SQL Server, Microsoft Access, Oracle, Sybase, Infomix, PostgreSQL, and other databases. So this is the template. Then for a shapefile, you basically remove this part, and then you are left with just the field name, the operator, and then the strings. This part is usually hard coded, and you can't change it, you can't edit it. So you are left with just the field name, the operator, and then the string value or the numeric value to play around with. This is the example we saw earlier on. On a database, this expression will work perfectly. So if I go back to my database interface, if I paste and then I run the SQL query, you see that you have just 5 records. So select star from customer. This is a customer table. That is this. So this table can change to whatever table you want to query. Then the where clause, then the country, that's the country column or the country field. So it is also a variable. This is the field name. After the where clause, you have the field name, which is this. Then the operator. Here we have the assignment or the equality operator as this. So this is the operator. Then the string. So because the field name here has the data type of a string, that's why you have Spain as a string, and it's enclosed in single quotes. So if you run it, it will select only the customers that are from Spain as listed here. So we have 5 customers from Spain. So if you want to run this on a shapefile, you will just remove this part and then just specify the column name, the field name as you have it here, the field name, which is this, the operator, which is this in this case, and then the string, that's the string value, since this column has the data type of a string. So let's see how we can do that on the shapefile. So on the shapefile, let's start with that of ArcGIS. If I open up the attribute table, let me position it somewhere here so that we'll have more room. And then I can zoom to layer. And then if I go to select by attribute, so here select by attribute, I want to select all the customers that are from Spain. Spain is somewhere here. And then from the result we have on the database, we have 5 records of customers from Spain. So let's see whether we're going to have the same thing. So I need to work with this template, the field name, operator, and then string. So the field name here is going to be country, then the operator, the equality sign, then the string. If I click on get unique value, and then I'm interested in Spain. So the string is Spain. So you can see this is how the template works. So the template is satisfied. And note that the field name is enclosed in double quote, while the string value is enclosed in single quote. The equality sign is not enclosed in any quote. So you can type this manually if you wish, if you know these rules. So click on verify to verify the expression. So this expression was successfully verified, as you can see here. So if I click on apply, this should select all the customers from Spain. So there are 5 of them, as you can see, 5 out of 91 selected. So these are the 5 customers from Spain. If you look at each selection in cyan color, we'll have the customers from Spain. So that is the way it works. And as you can see, This the first part, the select star from customers where clause is not editable. You can change it, you can manipulate it. So if you close, you can even leave it open. If you try to do the same thing in QGIS, open the attribute table, then expression. You can build the expression from the field and values here. But I decided to just copy and paste from there and then click on select. You see that 5 records are selected and all the countries in Spain. If I check it on the map, I will see that I have all the countries from Spain too selected in yellow. So this is basic SQL expression. And as I've mentioned to you earlier on, that the select part is hard coded in when you are working with a shapefile. So you don't need to enter it. And it means you can't change anything. So for example, let's assume here we want the customers from Spain, but we don't want to display all the columns. That is what the star is doing. We want just some few columns. Assuming we just need the customer ID and then the city and then maybe the country. So instead of using star, which return all the columns, we are going to use the names of those columns respectively. So the customer ID, then maybe the contact name of the customer, separated by comma, then comma, maybe the city, then maybe the country, separated by comma, just like that. So we are selecting these 4 rows from this customer table where the country is Spain. So instead of returning the entire columns or fields, we are just returning just 4 of them. So if I click on run, you should see that we have just the 4 columns. So this is not possible in when you're working with a shapefile in ArcGIS. For example, if I go back to my ArcGIS and then open the select by attribute, you will see that this part we edited on the database. Select star. So instead of using star, we use the column names we are interested in. It's not possible in when you are writing expression for a shapefile in ArcGIS. So you have to select. You have to use this part as default, and then the only part you can change is after the where clause. Likewise, the same thing too in QGIS. If you are writing the SQL expression for the attributes, shapefile attribute table, it is not possible. That part is there by default. But there is the database DB manager in QGIS that enables you to connect to a shapefile without loading it in a database. So you connect to a shapefile layer under virtual layers. So here I can connect to the shapefile layer as a virtual layer and it will treat it just like a database. So select the shapefile layer and then open up the SQL window. So here you can enter the expression just as you have it on the database. Here, assuming I want to select, let's say I want to select all the records from the customer table where the country is supposed to Spain. So I'll just write it like this and then click on execute. And then it will run and then select the same number of records. Here we have 5 rows, just do have it here on the database. So if I wish to edit the select parts, instead of selecting all the columns, I need some few columns returned. I can do that. I can remove the star, then insert the respective column name I'm interested in. For example, here I'm interested, let's say the customer ID, then maybe customer name, and then maybe the country. So I'm interested in these 3 columns from the customer table where the country is Spain. So after writing the expression, I will just click on execute and then it will return just those 3 columns instead of returning all using star. So this is a flexibility in a QGIS where you can just link to a shapefile layer as a virtual layer and it will treat it just like a database. So this is possible using the database. So here you don't need to set up an expensive or a complex database to use these SQL expressions. But most of the database SQL expressions I'm going to use, I will use them directly here. Then I will show you those ones that are possible in with a shapefile and those that are not possible with a shapefile. So in talking about the SQL expression that can be run on a shapefile, I have mentioned that the select is basically the only SQL statement or a SQL syntax that is allowed 100% allow on the shapefile. As indicated here, select start from customer where clause. That is an important concept you need to, I want you to know. And it's called the comment in SQL. So virtually every programming language has a comment syntax. A comment is just a line that is ignored by the interpreter or by the program when you are running. When you want to execute this, when you want this line to be ignored during the execution of this SQL statement, you use these two dashes, and then this line will be ignored. So this particular comment is possible, is allowed in SQL environment, but on a shapefile, you can't do that. Let's assume I want to comment this line out. If I try to use dashes to comment it out, it won't work. If I try verify, you see that I have an invalid SQL statement. But in the case of a database, if I do that, maybe I have this line commented out. I don't want to execute it. Then I now change this to maybe USA. So instead of selecting country Spain, it will ignore it because I have commented it out. And to run this line, since it's not commented out. So you can see I have selected all the countries from USA, and it's ignoring that of Spain, which is on the first line. So every programming language has this comment syntax, and that of SQL is indicated by these two dashes. So if you want to write a comment in your SQL environment, you just add two dashes, but it's not allowed when you are querying, when you're writing SQL for a shapefile. But if you go back to the, if you go back to QGIS under the virtual layer, which treats our shapefile as a database, you can easily use comment here. So let me copy this back, and then here I have it. So instead of, let me remove this two. So instead of running this line, because I've commented it out, if I did not comment it out, if I allow it, maybe something like this, and then execute, you see that it will return the city and the country. But if I don't want it to get executed, I can just use the comment by adding two dashes like this, then add the line I want to execute. So instead of returning Spain, I want it to return USA. So since USA is not commented out, it will return that of USA as seen below. So comments are allowed in databases. You can use comment in databases, but not on a shapefile.